Hello, everyone. Welcome to Human Resources Management Unit number 5. So in Unit number 5, we're going to be talking about training employees, why we train employees, what's the purpose of it. So here, for example, we have a video on, for example, the training for the princesses of Disneyland. I think it's interesting. In general, I mean, this is a kind of training that it's aiming to deliver customer experience, which in the end, that's why we call Disney the happiest place on earth. Why? Because everybody is supposed to be happy, have a good experience, and that's the way it is. Whenever you walk through Disney and you ask to any employee anything, they will never tell you, I don't know. Never. If they don't know, they'll find the best way to help you, to assist you, to bring you to someone that knows, and that's it, as compared to other places. So anyways, here we go with training of the princesses, and I think it's a very interesting thing. You don't need to watch it all. You can watch some of it. But I mean, of course, if you find it interesting, you can watch it all. But again,
Working as a
in Disney has a lot of programs for training for so many things. There we had that unexpected click. So anyways, we have with training. So why we do training? So in this case, we're looking to benefit the organization when we have a certain goal as a company, or we want to motivate employees or have required skills. In this case, for example, Disney believes that they need to fulfill a goal, and not all employees have that flair. So it's important to make them have that specific flair when it comes to the job, right? So this training needs are constantly increasing. Companies are now thinking more about it than before. Before they were like, nah, I don't need to train employees. You can just learn on their own, or they can go to university. And now they realize, no. If I want to fulfill the goals of having the best service, I need to train them to say, hi, how are you? How can I help you? This place is in this way, or the same thing for manufacturing workers. If we train them, we spend money on training, we spend a lot of money, but we will recover that money back in less mistakes, less errors in production. So nowadays they realize that, companies realize that it's an investment rather than a loss. The last time employees used to think it's a loss because we are just wasting money on them, and that's not the way, right? There's a very different mindset. So in this case, we have to think of organizational needs. We have to think of the instructional design. So we have to have a plan of training. Some companies say, if you want to start in this company, first, you need to undergo a training of maybe 3 months or 6 months, or you have to take these 5 courses, otherwise you cannot start. Happened to be in one of my institutions where I used to work before. You had to take a 1-year course in terms of teaching and how to write exams, how to handle situations, how to counsel students, and so on, in order for you to really start teaching, right? So again, different companies have different needs, and then they will have a plan for you. Some of them, they will provide you better opportunities or so if you complete their programs, right? So in this case, we need to, what are the stages of this instructional design? First of all, we need to assess why we need to do training, right? Well, why is it? What is the purpose of it? We need to ensure the readiness of training, that also employees want to receive this training. It may sound ridiculous, but many employees do not want to be trained. They don't want to waste their time because sometimes it's not done in working hours. So if you want to train someone after work, maybe they want to get paid extra, and that's a problem. I don't want to stay after work learning about some other things. Some employees, yes, they do. But of course, employees say like, okay, if you remove me from my duties for today to take a course and someone else can do my job, then I don't mind doing this kind of training. So again, in the training program, we have to see what are the objectives, what kind of professionals we want to build that work with us. So again, like Branson says in the Virgin, train them so they can leave, they can find better jobs, make them happy so that they can stay with you. So precisely that goes with that philosophy of training people, develop them, make them better, and then in the end that works for you also, because companies say like, when you work for that company, they train you so well that in the end they give you so many opportunities and you really want to stay with them, you don't want to leave, and they treat you well, and that's all. So then goes the implementation of the training program, where you learn the principles of learning or transfer learning, how it's done. We're going to look at the different types of training programs that they are available, and then evaluate whether these trainings are having an effect or not into the productivity or the customer service. So we have to see whether really we see a difference. So if, let's say, we have a sensitivity training, so where we educate employees about racism and collaboration, teamwork, and then we start to see less complaints about racism in the company. We see a reduction in 30-40% at the end of the year. That works very well, right? So in this case, we have to assess and evaluate whether that was working well or not. So we have, usually big companies have a learning management system where you can track all the courses that you have taken or that you must take in a certain time. Also, some of the companies is like, it is not optional. I'm not training you because you want or not. You want to be hired, you need to complete these trainings by this time of the year, or you have to complete 2 or 3 by this time. So it is not up to you. It's up to them. They force you to do it, and they track it through this learning management system where you can see your progress. They can see that you took the courses, and of course it's validated. And like I said, some companies, even if in the LMS, they can check if they can give you rewards or so because you took some external things, you took a master's or something external. Some are internal. They offer you the trainings and they post the dates and the times and the venues, and you decide to take them or not. Or external, like I said, you go and take a course outside and you can see whether you can validate it in that LMS. So like I said, in this case, we have the needs assessment, which is in the organization, which training will occur, how will it happen, why we need it, which people needs the training, and then what should the training cover, what are the actions that we need or the goals that we need, right? So in this case, this is an example of fits there. You can look at it on your own. So in this case, we have the organizational analysis. Whenever we start to set already into a training plan, this already entails a lot of planning on what kind of company we want to be. We cannot just say, let's organize a course for this and that's it. No, it has to be a complete plan, because in the end, you want to have a clear direction for employees, and that's very critical because, like I said, sometimes companies force employees to be proficient at what they have and excel at what they are doing. Some other say like, let's have a course for this, and then there's no benefit to it. So we have to be very careful with this. Okay, so again, the task analysis and the readiness for training, I already talked about that. And then we have to think of what managers should do to support trainings. In this case, I'm going to be very general about it. They need to understand whether this really works, the mentality of their employees, whether really they give them facilities for going to training, give them some time off to take the training, give them some incentives about it, be interested about it. It's like, for example, you need to go for a course for 2 weeks and that's outside the city. So supervisor, have you done it? No, I'm not going to do it because it's too far. So you lead by example, right? If you're going to the course and you're taking it, you force and you by leading your employees to go and take it. So again, managers should think about incentives, all these things in order for them to motivate their employees. So in this case, planning the training program, we have to think who will provide the training. Are we going to do it internally or externally? The topics that will be covered, training methods, and again, finally, how to evaluate the training. So in this case, like I said, training objectives, what to expect, what kind of performance. For example, the one that I took, I had to pass with a good grade for being a teacher. Otherwise, I couldn't be teacher. So not in Kungmin. Kungmin, we don't have that thing. We do have a training system as well, but it's not compulsory. It is more optional. So anyways, in this case, we have the measure performance standards, which is how to measure whether the goal was achieved or not, and so on, and so on. So the internal, external, like I said, it depends on the company. You may have the skill, you may have a lot of trainers, For example, when I used to work at American Airlines, they had the workforce of the internal trainers. There were no need for external trainers, and so they had their training center in Dallas, which had a hotel and everything. So in this case, again, they had internal resources. They didn't rely on anything external, but some smaller companies may need to hire someone externally. So, like I said, in this case, we can have the contract out and we have a request for proposal. So we open we post it maybe in a business blog or so. I need someone that can train me on this and these things, and then companies that provide it, some consulting companies will do it, and that works very well, right? So again, we have different types of training methods, and let's look at them. So in this case, for example, what kind of use of instructional methods percentage? This one, apparently instructor-led classrooms is the highest one. So in this case, we have a trainer that comes and lectures all the employees. It can be physical or it can be distance, or even you can have already some software of programs. When I used to work for American Airlines, actually, Star, I think the system was called Star, and then some of the trainings you could take them in the computer. You just have to log in into the LMS, and then you can finish the course and give you some extra points for your yearly evaluation. That again is part also of many companies, your yearly evaluation, whether how many courses you took. That goes together with the audiovisual training, which is also can be through computers or through some software or so that can be done. The computer-based training, again, goes together. These are all go together. Like I said, it can be directly with the classroom or with some computers or with some videos or so on. Usually, for example, the audiovisual training happens, for example, in safety videos. And some companies, what they do is they even do funny videos of people having accidents or so. Or they make it very tragical. Actually, they use a lot of fear or humor to show the employees what can happen if they don't follow the different safety procedures, right? We have on the job training, which is come with me, follow me all day long, and you'll see your practice while you're doing. And same together with an apprenticeship, right? Come, try. I'm gonna give you to do some tasks, and you're gonna do it. Instead, all these three go together, no? Because in the end, it's all in on the job training. We pull employees to work with us, and then they follow us, and they learn how to do a certain thing until they are completely ready to do it. We have also simulations in terms of like a certain kind of business games and case studies and simulations all work together, because in the end we put certain scenarios of what could happen if you take certain actions. And usually employees actually like this a lot because they play and they analyze and they have a certain result. So in reality, if you would have done that, you would have lost $20 million. Oops. Nope. But again, it helps them to trigger a little bit of their mindset and see how it works. Probably we will do something of this throughout the semester. Okay. We have also the training of behavior modeling, which is more into role playing. This one happens a lot for customer service. In American Airlines, we used to do it a lot when I used to work there, where we pretend to be the customer, and sometimes like, okay, you're gonna be the angry customer. You're gonna pretend that they changed your flight and then they lost your bag, and then you go and you then give the acting of your life in there, and then you make the other person very nervous and try your best to reach an agreement with the airline and so on. So anyways, this one we have also experiential programs. Again, there are situations, adventures or so, where people used to, they bring them outside. They have to work in teams. They have to achieve a goal. These workshops sometimes. I remember in one of my jobs, we had to do this kind of workshop, and it was with the gotcha guns. So we had to work as a team against another team and see who gets less shots. Sadly, our team lost badly. We got super shot everywhere. But again, it's part of creating a strategy and so on, right? Very good. So this is part of also, again, the team training and action learning, which is, again, team training. Sometimes we have teams that they need to improve. They need to work better. Sometimes, again, it's certain skills are taught as a team, as a certain software, as a certain thing. and or the action learning. Again, we give them activities so that they can learn how to work as a team, because sometimes the teams don't work very well together is because they don't know each other. So we need to develop the trust among them. We need to make sure that they're working well together, and so on. Okay, so in this case, like I said, the principles of learning, in the end, when people feel that is something valuable, it's more likely that they will learn it. The same thing if they feel that is something that will continue, it's a skill that they will carry on to their next job, they will be more likely to participate. The same thing, the design of the training helps. They remember what they learn and they apply it in their job. For me, I remember, I think one of the best workshops that I had was the 7 habits of highly effective people. But well, I mean, it's a book, but I mean, we had the trainer, the official trainer, and actually it was very good because I learned many things there that I remember a lot, and they were very useful into my career. Okay. And the same thing, the written materials should have an appropriate reading level. Again, if you have a team of workers that they don't know how to read and write, you don't go and write them a manual. You go and show them a video of a guy crushing his hand with a machine and how he bleeds to death. That's how they will understand it. That's how you need to do it. Good. So in this case, we have the transfer of training, which is also in this case is more of social learning. Social learning also happens in many industries where there's no formal training. So in some companies also what happens is we have some seniors and say, okay, it is not precisely a training per se, but you are the one in charge of really transferring that knowledge to others and that training to others, right? So that happens also, that social learning. So in this case also we talk about the measures of training success, which is in this case, like I said, we have some training outcomes, which is there's information that the employees now know much better. For example, if we're talking about, for example, a hotel, they will remember all the facilities, where they are, what's important for the consumer, etc., right? We can also skills that trains can demonstrate in tests or in the job. And like I said, it's important that they memorize or they know something. Trainee and supervisor satisfaction with training program. Also, we have to measure whether they are satisfied or not. I remember also when I have taken some of these trainings, they ask you at the end of the training, how satisfied were you, or the quality of the course. No, sometimes if you feel it's very lousy and you didn't learn anything, but it was terrible. I spent 1 hour sitting there and I didn't learn anything. So that's also part of measuring the result, whether the people were satisfied with it or not. Changes in attitude related to training content. So, for example, like I said, the video of the safety, now you see everyone is wearing the helmet. Why? Because they got so scared, no, about the guy that his head was chopped into million pieces because of a certain machine. So now they use the helmet. So you see a change of behavior. Though we see in general improvements at the company level where, for example, we see less mistakes or less errors in the production line because now they take care of very important or small things because they have a skill or because they know what to look for. So in this case, we have the evaluation. We have to measure it, how we apply it. It can be a questionnaire. It can be asking in a more qualitative way, talking to the employees and see what you feel has improved, how was changed, and so on. Okay. We also have another part of training, which is the orientation. Orientation, I think, is one of the critical areas of the company, which is telling you from the very beginning what to expect, what is your position, where you work, where you eat, when you can rest, where you can sleep, what I need out of you. So in this case, for example, I used to work for American Airlines. We had to go to an orientation of 1 month. 1 month, you had to go to Dallas, you had to train in there. They familiarize you with absolutely everything. They somehow wash your brain to be an American, proud of working in American Airlines. So this orientation was very well because it taught us from how to treat handicapped customers, to operate so many of the computers, how to deal with things of the airport, etc., etc., etc. So how we need to talk to other employees, etc., etc. So that was very, very good. Also, the orientation program works like that. So in this case, when we have um, when we have an orientation program, we have to tell them what are the regulations, what they need to know in terms of, like, you need to fulfill these regulations in terms of attendance, in terms of performance. We also need to clarify if they have any questions. So do I need to attend the customer when I am doing this or so, etc. In case of the culture, for example, the culture that maybe we're like a family or we are high performers, so what is the culture? And finally, the connection, which is understand interpersonal relations between the employees among the company. Okay. So lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about diversity training, or any kind of training, sensitivity training in so many ways are very important, especially I think in Korea, something that really needs to be way more developed. If you guys become ever practitioners, I think you really need to pay attention to this in terms of discrimination of women or younger people or people with less skills or even the university they graduated from. So I think creating that ambience of brotherhood is much better to create a better working environment. So again, this is something that many employers need to work in at many levels. But again, it's part of the training as well, and it's part of a plan. And again, if people is not really complying or still discriminating or so, then we have to find a ways also to say, well, you took the training, you didn't do well, so I have the ability to fire you because you were warned about it. That again, when I used to work in American Airlines, that happened a lot. That was caring for the customer, and some other employees was critical. You had to be nice to everyone, and in the end, everybody had that mentality of being nice to everyone, and so we didn't have any problem. So very good. So thank you for watching. This again was unit number 5. I didn't remember the unit number 5, and I'll see you next week for unit number 6. If you have any questions, you can ask them on the eCampus or you can email me directly. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.